Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being the show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Manifest. A great episode. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, there's a whole thing about this woman, Autumn, showing up, and it's like, oh, she's one of the people from the plane and everything, and there's the whole trying to get the other hidden passengers, but Ben is trying to rush to do it, but Vance is like, no, we can't take any chances that they see us coming again and then it's all over. So there's that type of situation. It's just a lot of crazy stuff compiled upon itself in this episode. We had Cal starting to suffer even more from like the whole situation with Marco. And what's really interesting is that from the very beginning, like when they started using the machine on him, it was actually affecting two of the other people in there, even though they weren't feeling the surge like he was. But I guess, physical manifestation of kind of like the telepathy between them started having an effect. So, but what was really interesting is that they all felt it the moment the power went full. When it went up to like 80%, it started affecting all of them. So it wasn't just well, I guess that's the thing too. Is it just because it reached all of them because they're all connected? Or, well, no, because it makes you wonder, is Cal 100% the conductor? Like once it hits Cal, he disperses it to everybody else if the energy's high enough? Or was it like, is Cal just simply like the connected part of the brain? Like, is he like the brain and they're kind of all the synapses inside of it connected to him? Or are they all synapses in this case, even Cal? Like, because sitting here thinking about it, even referring to it as telepathy, reminds me a little bit of Sense8. If you've never seen Sense8, it's a great show. You should check it out. It's on Netflix. Whole situation. Great show you should check out. Kind of about a similar thing about people being connected to telepathically like that and stuff like that. So I'm curious, is it just kind of they're all of one mind in that same regard, or is Cal the centerfold and they stem from that? I'm curious like how that really all works, because in the Sensei situation, there's no like one main person. They're all connected. They're all kind of like the main body essentially. You know, it's confusing me putting it like that, so I do apologize. But that was kind of an interesting development. They went to go check the place out. Even Jarrett's asking questions, but obviously Michaela didn't want to bring him along because she's still paranoid about the whole anyone that knows about the calling will die situation. Also, people from Ben's job show. I didn't know he got fired. That was interesting. I mean, I guess there was that surveillance tape and stuff about him doing that, but it's like the fact is they came and got his badge and everything like that. It's like I didn't remember him actually being fired. When did that happen? I guess it happened in between episodes and stuff like that. Maybe they found out exactly what he was up to. I don't know. I mean, it's not like Grace brings that up later on or anything. So it's like, what was that about? Like, was that really his job, or was that like singularity related people actually covering and actually going there because they know he's investigating? It seemed like it might lean into that. They might have put like surveillance in his home or something like that. So I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting to find out what that's about. Maybe that literally was all that was about, just getting his badge. I don't know. But it was really interesting. Lawrence and them almost got away, which I'm like, okay, good. Thank goodness that they didn't get away. Good job on the double team of Vance and Jarrett. I love that Jarrett being like, no, Lawrence is like, oh, you don't know who you're messing with, and Jarrett comes over and punches him in the face. I'm like, yeah. He's like, neither do you, because I was about, oh man, he's about to pull out a gun. They're going to kill him, and then it's just going to be a situation of not knowing everything. But it's like, yeah, they captured him alive. But then the moment they were down there, and I'm like, oh man, this place is about to go up. Sadly, at the end of it all, Vance died. Jarrett was in bad condition. It looks like Lawrence is dead too, but as we know, he's not the head of all this. Like, he was in the operations, all of this, but he takes orders from someone else, someone known as the Major. So that's interesting. It's kind of interesting too on the whole Jarrett front. It's the whole like Michaela's perspective on it, because for her it's like Vance knew about all this because they explained it to him. At first he was kind of like, wait, what? And now he kind of saw it for himself to kind of hear it about it all. So sadly he ended up dying. It's like, man, they had one ally in all of this, and he's gone now, which is such a shame. But now that feeds Michaela's fear even more. Jared ultimately is okay, but she prayed to the calling. And that brings an interesting conversation, because it's like, did the calling actually respond to her prayers, or was it just like, did Jared just happen to get better? So does that mean that the calling, like, that's still the big question. Is this legitimately the calling coming after them? People who know, or is it just coincidence and it's just feeding Michaela's fears and worries? It's hard to say in this situation, because all this is being a little too coincidental, you know. But once again, with this whole thing, there seems like there are no accidents, so maybe it's all part of some grand plan, some design, because of the whole thing about the plane exploding, because it's like, yeah, no one's supposed to know about this. The interesting thing is that Autumn ends up saying this, that it's like, at first they asked us casual questions, and then we got this feeling about, oh yeah, the plane's going to explode. Well, something's going to go down with the plane, and then they kept him there, the plane exploded, and then that's when the experiments really kicked up. So I'm like, okay, so is Singularity, this whole group, the Major, whoever it is, are they the reason why the plane blew up? Because they were trying to, they probably know about this ahead of time, but they wanted to test it. So they did that, and they're like, oh, these people know about that. They know about, okay, so that cemented it in their head, so that's what made them decide to push further with these experiments, potentially. What's also sad, too, is all of this is them taking Fiona's work, because Sanvi kind of chewed her out, because it's like, this is all your work is like barbaric, but it's like, for her, it's like, this was all theoretical. I never actually meant for it to be tested on people, but it's like, you sold your work to the government. Like, neuroscience is kind of like a slow thing. You do it piece by piece, but the government just, as she kind of used it, kind of like, they're going about it by using dynamite is kind of the example she said about how they're advancing through the situation. So it's just kind of sad in the end, you know, that Fiona was working towards the thing. Like, she had the best of intention of like bringing all human minds together, but it ends up being used in this way. So like I said, there's good to that side of things. Obviously, there's a whole Gray situation, which I had a feeling was going to turn out the way it did. Well, not the exact way it did. I figured like Cal would get sick again, and because they couldn't get in contact with Ben because his phone was off and everything. The moment Vance was like, turn your phone off, I'm like, okay. Grace said the whole, don't leave me alone in a situation like that again. And I was like, it's going to happen like that. Which it kind of didn't, it kind of didn't, because it's like, okay, I'm trying to get in contact with Ben. Can't. I'm getting worried. This whole thing about the people from your job. Cal runs away and goes to you. But to be fair, Cal helped in the end. It's actually interesting, because it's like the drop of blood from his nosebleed actually landed where it was supposed to be, because the place was actually empty. But it's like, no, all of it's like secret underground stuff. And then when it was time to get out, Ben was the only one who could see the pathway, which is interesting. Why is that? I mean, because as we can see, not everyone connected to the plane actually has or gets the calling, because Fiona was on the plane, but she hasn't received anything. So maybe it just hasn't kicked in yet for her. Maybe her part to play in all this grand design hasn't really happened yet. Maybe that is it. Because like, even when everyone was feeling the effects of it, she wasn't. So that's why I'm kind of like, which is interesting, because not everyone's really felt it. Because even the pilot, we haven't gone back to him yet in that regard. So I'm interested to find out like more about it. Like, is it just their time hasn't come yet, or what? But, you know, it's sad that things kind of played out the way they did. But it's like, from the outside perspective, you can like, yeah, you can understand why Grace is so pissed. But Ben's like, I mean, granted, things could have gotten bad. There was an explosion, everything, gunfire and stuff was there. So it's kind of, but to be fair, it wasn't Ben's fault. He tracked me down there, but it's kind of like, you should have brought him back immediately. But Cal didn't want to leave. You know, it's that situation of like, you're the parent in this situation, but it's like, there is so much more going on here. He tried to explain it to Grace, but she didn't believe him. And for her, it's like, my son could have been in danger. He could have died. I literally had to accept that he had died, sign a birth certificate, first the cancer situation, and then after this 5-year period, at one point I had to just give up and say that my son was dead. I had to sign that death certificate. So don't tell me that I don't understand. And it sucks, because it's like, you just don't see what's going on here. And I think Cal's not in a position that he could really explain or fend for his dad. Like, doing what he did is like, yeah, you knew that was going to come back to bite Ben in the butt, but like, you know, and you know, Grace is like, I tried to make things work, but it's like, you know, but I thought you were the same man that you were, but you're different, and I can't be with that man. And he's like, I understand. The fact of the matter is, I can't give you what you want and what you need or what you deserve, so I'll go, but I have to take Cal with me because it's the only way he can be safe. But she's like, he's safe with me. The fact of the matter is, no one's going to take my son away from me again, me, you know, that not being you. But it's like, Ben being around him would probably be the safest place just because he understands what Cal's going through. Now, this situation, I think it's going to cause some issues in the family on multiple levels because Olive is probably going to be super pissed at Cal because she's going to blame Cal for being the reason this is all, like, their family, like, finally got back together. Her and Cal were in a good place, but it's like, no, probably going to blame him for the fact is that, like, oh, we aren't good anymore. It's all because of you, Cal, because you did what you did. Now we're in this situation. She might be pissed at Grace. Then there's probably, this is all going to open up room for the whole Danny situation. I'm sure that's potentially where they're going to go down with that. What is really interesting, though, is the fact is, after the explosion, Ben saw, like, a giant peacock, and it had spread its tail, and it was like, okay, so what the hell is that supposed to mean? So he definitely got a calling, and then there's a little twist at the end of, like, oh, actually, Autumn is actually on their side, which is a shame because it's like, yeah, all of that was playing. Because I was wondering at the end, I was like, because the whole thing is she's kind of like a con artist anyway, it seems, because she's got all these multiple identities. She's got warrants out for her, so we still don't 100% know what that's 100% about. But I was like, so is she not actually, you know, someone from the, you know, because, I mean, the fact is she acted like she was kind of affected by it, but maybe she just saw that Ben and them were affected. But the fact is the marks on her head make it seem like, yeah, I guess they figured with her background, she'd be the easiest to kind of play this situation off. Like, they knew that, like I said, it seems like she's probably most likely a con woman in some shape or form, kind of a grifter. That's what I'm interpreting, and they knew that she'd be able to be the one to get close, which is interesting once again because Lawrence is potentially dead, but once again, he's not the one that end all be all with this situation because there's the major, so I guess she's responding to him or whoever's running things. So that's definitely interesting. Which now, I mean, luckily he's not around Cal right now, so she won't get the information that she so desperately wants, but it still puts them in a position where a serpent has snuck into their group, essentially, and they're kind of welcoming her with open arms, so it's definitely going to be interesting where that all takes us, but I hope the whole situation with Ben and the family does get better. It also comes down to whether or not Michaela is right. You know, Harvey was right about the whole, like, telling people that about this whole situation gets them killed. Like, is that legitimately a coincidence or not? It's hard to tell. It's also interesting to see where this whole situation between Michaela and Jarrett goes from here, because it's like, because she was like, no, I'll go get, Lourdes says she's on her way, let me go get her. He's like, no, just stay here with me. So it's like, how distraught she was over it. So it makes you wonder, will Michaela be willing to kind of go forward with any of that? Will she kind of tell Jared how she really feels, even though it's like him and Lourdes are trying to have a baby, they're married, they're at this happy life, and you don't want to be the homewrecker in that situation, you know? So there's a lot to kind of take on about that situation. I mean, to be fair, this might scare Michaela even more to get Jared even less involved with anything going forward, just because she doesn't want to take the chance that he might end up dying. He came so close this time. Don't want to take another chance like that, you know? So I'm very interested to see where all of this takes us going forward into the next episode. Because going back to what I was saying too, is like, why was it that only Ben could see the path? Like, why was it specifically him? Why couldn't it have been Michaela to go in? Why couldn't she see? But I guess like everyone, it's like, no, this is your calling. So it's like, but the fact is the calling manifested in such a way like that it's literally showing him the pathway out, which is kind of interesting. I mean, this is like, whatever this whole calling situation is, it is some grand power to be able to, like, I mean, to be fair, they see different things. So for it to manifest itself like that, I don't know. Like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.